The Gudgeon remained moored in Yokosuka while both American and Japanese mechanics performed more repair work on the engines. However, as the old saying goes about putting lipstick on a pig, the problems did not go away. The Fairbanks Morse engines required constant TLC and a major overhaul for about every 100 or so hours of operation. They were eventually replaced. Despite the time pressures, the boat was ready to go 9 days after arrival to Yokosuka. She slipped out of the harbor on 30 July 1957 to begin special ops. Where the boat was going next remained top secret. No one was informed of the destination. Wild speculation that the next deployment would be to Australia proved incorrect. There were 8 officers, 2 intelligence specialists, spooks, and 75 enlisted men on board as they set sail in August 1957. Leaving Japan, the first hint that they weren't going to the land of koalas and kangaroos came quickly. They proceeded north. Only when the Gudgeon was well out to sea was the destination shared with the crew. Even this information was parsed carefully. Every aspect of the mission remained on a strict need-to-know basis. The destination was Vladivostok, a major Soviet base along the Sea of Japan at the far southeastern corner of Russia. The Gudgeon set up shop near a major Soviet naval base. She remained more than 3 miles off the Soviet coast, the territorial limit at sea recognized by the U.S., but fewer than 12 miles from land, the limit claimed by the Soviets. Consequently, she was in a no-man's area of contested ocean. After several days on station, she was spotted on 19 August 1957 after broaching her fin. Within a very short time, as many as 8 Soviet destroyers were dispatched to confront the Gudgeon. The waters were crystal clear and sonically ideal. There was very little ambient background sea noise. Furthermore, the depth of the sea where she was spotted was no greater than 300 feet. She quickly became a sitting duck for the Soviet surface ships pursuing her. Lieutenant Commander Besic called for battle stations and a submerged retreat from the coast at flank speed. His intent was to reach the 12-mile Soviet territorial limit before his pursuers. Beyond that line was safe harbor, he reasoned, and the dangerous provocation could be de-escalated. Once the Gudgeon had safely arrived in the open sea, Besic ordered the boat to come to a full stop at a depth of around 200 feet in order to go quiet and avoid detection. Unfortunately, his ploy was unsuccessful. The Soviet destroyers located the American boat and surrounded her. For the next 36-plus hours, the Gudgeon was trapped. She could not safely go to periscope depth to snorkel. In other words, she could not draw in the fresh air needed to run the diesel engines and recharge the ship's batteries. A related casualty was the inability to replenish fresh air for the crew to breathe. Meanwhile, the Soviet ships lingered overhead. Regularly dropping small depth charges meant more to intimidate than to inflict damage. Any attempt by the submarine to alter its heading was met swiftly by more incessant pinging and practice bombardment. Of course, no one on board the Gudgeon could know whether the adversary would dare to discharge a true depth charge, and every sound of another drop in the water raised the tension further. As the ship's battery drained perilously low and the ship's oxygen levels became depleted, smokers could not light cigarettes, the exhausted crew grew more listless. Knowing that survival could not abide many more hours of the status quo, Besic took decisive action. At this point in the story, the narrative becomes less certain. The commonly cited account asserts that the Gudgeon had surfaced in the dead of night. Besic ordered the Gudgeon's 8 torpedo tube doors, 6 forward, 2 aft, to be opened. Whether this move was seen by the Soviets as a sign of peaceful intent or a preparatory step for imminent firing of multiple torpedoes was unclear. To avoid any misinterpretation, therefore, a crewman was instructed to transmit a flashing light message asserting the Gudgeon's right to occupy international waters. The Soviets then replied with their own flashing message, telling the Gudgeon in a few words to get moving, post haste. They also managed to get in a dig at American pride. Thanks for the ASW exercise. The cordon of Soviet ships parted to allow the Gudgeon to pass unmolested, and the confrontation ended peacefully. Or so the story goes.